My thoughts this week is on pilots. Not those, I'm talking about pilot episodes. That's the first episode of a show. The most important episode in a TV show. Because if it's not good, people don't want to watch the rest of the show. So that's why they have to hook the viewer and keep them there. And kind of when that first episode ends, you have to want to watch the next one. That's a pilot's purpose. And how it does this is kind of through promises, mystery, and setups or questions that audiences kind of want answers to. A good example for a really good pilot is Breaking Bad. At the end of Breaking Bad, you really want to continue watching that show because premise is so good, and the promise the show makes is that you're gonna see this normal family man, a teacher, start to sell crystal meth. And that's it's really entertaining, and we want to see that. A pilot episode has to make a strong promise for what's to come in the rest of the show, and it has to be good, like Breaking Bad or Chernobyl, where the promise is how are the characters going to cope and handle this crisis and potentially find out what went wrong. So a promise is important, telling the audience this is what you can expect, this might be something for you. The next step is mystery, which it's kind of the opposite of promise. It's kind of the unknown, because this is where you introduce questions, unanswered questions. You want to have at least a couple of them to pop up in the viewer's head, so they want the answers. I think a really good show, as an example for this, has to be Stranger Things. Pilot episode is a really good pilot episode in itself, but the way they build on the mystery of it by first opening up with a scientist getting eaten by some kind of monster, and then one of the kids disappear in thin air. There's a girl who escaped from this lab, simply called 11, and she has telekinetic powers, and someone from the government is chasing her. There's so much here. And that's great. Builds a lot of mystery, and people just want to know what is going on. At the end of the episode, you just want to click on the next one. Then we have setups, which is also very important, or more, it's kind of a necessary thing in pilots. It's not a selling point like the promise and premise and the mystery of a show. It's more of things you just have to do to make the show make sense. So, for example, in Breaking Bad, there's a lot of things that has to just be set up. Like half of that episode spends its time following Walter White having a miserable day, getting cancer, having the worst birthday ever, having economical problems, having a son who's handicapped. All of this time spent on the setup to justify or explain why such a guy would go into making meth and set the stage for his big transformation. All this work to be able to get payoffs down the line. This is not something you want your audience to notice. It's just something you have to do. This is how we make good pilots. But is there bad pilots? I guess if you don't have this, they're not pretty good. But I think most filmmakers are so aware that they have to pull people into the show. So I can't really think of a pilot I've seen which wasn't good. Most are. I think it's actually the opposite. Some pilots might be too good. And what I mean by that is that they make promises they don't keep. Yeah, they may be better pilots by themselves, but the show overall is worse for it. That's why you often get tired of a show, or maybe it starts out great and it just fizzles out. Characters who were introduced in the first episode don't get an arc themselves. Questions are left unanswered. Just a lot of frustrating things like that. And there is a reason for this, why this keeps happening. And that's because TV shows are written in teams, not just a single writer. There's often 10 writers in a writer's room. And you have a showrunner who usually writes the first episode. And he can have spent 10 years writing that one pilot episode. And this is because this is the one episode you pitch to producers to get the show made. So it has to be good. When the show gets picked up, it goes to the writer's room and they have like a couple of weeks to bang out the whole show, or a couple of months, but still that's for like 10 or 20 episodes, and it has a deadline. It does not get the same attention a pilot episode gets. That's just the nature of getting a show up and going. That said, we get a lot of great pilots, and there's a bunch of them. My favorite ones has to be Chernobyl, Stranger Things, and Attack on Titan. And since I want you guys to precipitate, I would gladly make a breakdown or video essay of one of these three. Just let me know in the comments which one you would prefer. That's it for this week. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.